Hey everybody, Scoutcrafty here again. It's Wednesday, midweek Wednesday. We got a little bit of a mosh going on today. Now, normally we do our mishmash on Monday, but we had a lot of projects going on. I've been doing a lot of things. I did a nice little restoration on those beautiful pliers that Tom Gunn gave me. You know how I love pliers and punches and clamps and hammers and a lot of other tools I have that are favorites. But Tommy Gunn, you know him from Long Island. He's been killing the garage and tag sales around here, not leaving any tools for the rest of us. But he gave me a pair of these pliers from Germany that I've been using, and I like them. I said, let me just do because I want to make these user pliers. So I did a quick restoration on those, more or less, and it came out really nice. The only thing is the audio was a little screwed up here and there, so I had to cut all the audio and I kind of dubbed it afterwards. So you'll see it's a little bit different, but that's only for this episode. Don't worry, it's not going to be like that permanently. And then we have some nice show and tells to do afterwards. So let's get started right away. Okay, for today's project, we're working on Tom Gunn's beautiful pliers here from Jordan from Germany. Jordan was a company that imported them in New York City. You can see here the jaws, they look pretty decent. You know, that the problem is that you can see they're not lined up. They're probably like a second quality, but the steel was really good on these pliers. And unfortunately, the cutting jaws on this are pretty much shot. However, we can make these into a nice user pair. First thing we got to do is get rid of that tape on the handle. You can't do this with the wire brush. Use Scotch-Brite 50/50 and save your wire brush from getting gunked up. Let's run it through the wire brush now and take a look at what we have. You can see here we're just cleaning up the jaws, and then we'll take the Dremel and we'll run the Dremel through the inside. But you can see what the condition is. You know, they're nice. The steel, like I said, it was a good steel. So now we're going to clean the inside out, and then we're going to work on the outside. Whenever you see pitting and deep denting and things like that, you're better off starting with a coarse flap disc first. We're going to do that, and then we'll go over it again with a finer disc to get out the scratches. But you see, this makes quick work of flattening everything out, getting out the dents, the things, but you got to watch it. It'll take the name right off, so you stay away from that. We'll come back around the name using the finer flap disc. But you can see here what a nice job just the flap disc does. I mean, to clean it up and get rid of all those dings and dents. Changing the flap disc only takes a couple seconds. And here we're putting on a 180 grit to get out the scratches from the coarse disc. And tighten it up, 1, 2, 3. And you can now, safety Sally alert. Okay, now this is something, please do not try this unless you're totally comfortable. I have this locked, so this flap disc cannot get away from me, and I'm used to doing this. But look how easy it is to get to these hard facets that are usually hard to get to. I found this to be the easiest way. Just keep going, get out all the pits, and you know, you just have to have a good light overhead so you can see the angle and where you're hitting and where the disc is hitting. So I find this to be the easiest way to do it, and it's very enjoyable when you do get this technique down pat. Now here you can see we have the initial grind down. It looks really good, right? Just with the flap disc. Now again, this is the finer flap, the worn flap disc that we're going to take out the deeper scratches. Now I know the scratches, because of the light, they look pretty deep here, but they're really not. They're fine scratches, and that'll come out. The fiber wheel will actually take these fine scratches out. But you can see right now what we're doing is just making sure that we don't take that name totally off, and that we also blend everything in and get everything looking decent. Now we're going to do the handles outside and inside with the flap first, just to get rid of all the pitting and all, because they didn't even touch these handles at all. So and then we'll go over with the The belt sander. Now, I'm starting with the coarse belt. Now, look at how coarse this. Look at the coarse scratches on there. You say, "Oh God, that looks horrible." But the fine belt will take those scratches right out. If you try and do the whole thing with a fine belt, you're just going to waste your time and you're going to heat up the metal like crazy. Now we're going with the fine belt, and you'll see how it looks. It looks totally different after we redo it. It takes a little bit extra time, but it really looks good. The fiber wheel gets rid of those fine scratches. And now we're pretty much, almost ready. Now, normally you would call this project done. You look at it. It looks beautiful, right? I mean, the scratches are out. Look at the finish on there, the handles. Look how nice the handles are. But this one here, because I know Tom likes a classic look, I thought we would do something a little bit different we haven't done on this channel before. And only because I'm not a big fan, but we're going to blue the handles. Now, when I say blue, I'm actually talking cold blue. This is the product I use. And, when you cold blue something, it's totally different than hot bluing, okay? Hot bluing requires a tremendous setup and expensive and messy. Cold bluing, this is about the best you could expect to get. Whereas if hot bluing, this is what real bluing looks like. How nice is that? Okay, now the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure everything is nice and squeaky clean. We're using acetone here to clean up the handles before we attempt to put the cold bluing on. And now when you wipe this down, remember the vinyl gloves will be dissolved by acetone. So after you do this, you're going to have to change your gloves real quick. And when you're putting this bluing solution on, and I hate to use the term bluing because there's nothing blue about it. It's a gray or dark gray. When you're putting this solution on, you don't need a lot. Just put it on to a small piece of, some people use cotton, whatever. You can use anything you want. But the main thing is I'm doing this in real time because I want you to see how quickly this will turn the color, actually start the oxidation of the metal, how quick it works. And you could see, this is why a lot of guys like this because it's quick and easy, really. But it will show imperfections. Don't think, bluing or this cold bluing will cover up some minor stains and everything, but for the most part, you could see a good bluing or cold bluing job, you'll see right through it. So that's why you want the handles to be nice and free of dense scratches, dings, so that it really looks good. So here you see, and you can see the rust formation on there, the oxidation. After that, it don't take long. You just let it dry for a few seconds, and then you take, I'm using Starrett 2 oil, but that's nothing more than mineral oil, and some really fine 4O, quad O steel wool, and just buff it out. Just buff it out, get off any of that, and work it in. Now, it's funny, I see people soaking their handles in oil, and I never understood why, because metal don't absorb. It's not like wood that'll absorb it. So, whatever it absorbs, it'll take 2 seconds to do. So what you're doing here is you're just buffing it out with some clean paper towel, the mineral oil, get this really nice, make sure there's no more gunk on there, and there you have it. This is the kind of look that you have, and it feels real good. The main thing is to have how it feels. After that, I do my polishing. Now, I didn't polish it before because, remember, in order to get this blue to clean, to stick, everything's got to be clean. So I'm polishing after I do the bluing. Now, my favorite part. Remember what Tom's pliers looked like before we started, and then halfway through what it looked like, and then finally what we found. This is the finished product, and I have to say I do like the transition. Again, I like the color. I like the difference between the black and the polished, but again, it's not a blue. It is a kind of a gray, but the main thing is look how when you polish it and do a nice job underneath, look how nice that looks. It looks almost factory, and it really feels smooth and nice in the hand. That's the key. And like I said, the jaws were kind of, shot on these, but what you can do, it won't cut a zip tie, and that's, like I said, a good indication. So it won't cut a zip tie, but however, you could still use it to cut larger things. Like here's the a coat hanger, and you can see here, this is an older one, but you see it cuts right through that. So it's good for certain things, but I don't use these usually for cutting. I use it for general purpose pliers, and I really do enjoy it. I love the shape, the feel, the size. So Tom, thanks so much for these. Okay, so that was a lot of fun. Special thanks to Tom, because I really enjoyed working on those and how they came out. I'm very happy with them. We'll be using them in the shop on a daily basis. Next up, I want to talk about one of my favorite things is a product, an invention called Bakelite. A lot of you know what Bakelite is, and to me, ever since I was a kid, it screamed of quality. If you've ever held Bakelite in your hand, it's unlike anything else that they make today. It was like a heavy-duty plastic, and I hate to use the word plastic because there's a lot of cheap plastic compounds that don't do the word justice, but Bakelite has been around since 1907. Leo Baekeland invented it from Yonkers, New York, and it was made under pressure and, like I said, using formaldehyde and other chemicals, and it has really great properties as far as thermal properties and insulating properties. And you'll recognize it. It's on a lot of things from the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, radio cases, radio knobs, pipes, jewelry, anything like that. And you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it before. A lovely substance. And I have a couple things that I recently picked up made from Bakelite that I wanted to introduce you to, and as part of our show and tell. So let's get right to that. Our first item on our introduction to Bakelite is the General Electric light meter that I have here. Look at this beautiful box that came in. You can see it's like an Art Deco box, so you can right away date it probably from the late 20s, 30s or something like that. And then let's take a look at what this is, okay? What we have here, and it comes with instructions for using. You can see here. Let me get this out of here. Now here's the instructions for using. You can see it opens up almost like accordion style here, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. It gives you, and you can always stop if you ever had to read this for any reason. What's really nice about this particular light meter, unlike the other ones, usually light meters, you see them a lot in photography, things like that. This was back in the day when they were coming out with electric lighting was becoming big, and they wanted to really push the fact of that how you need a bright area to do certain work. And you can see here, let me get it here so you can see that closely. Here's it gives you basically the candle power, or foot candles as it was called, and how much you should have for different uses. Now you can see it's written here on the gauge on the front that if you are working and doing rough work, office work, drafting, fine assembly, the more light you would need. Now I have it pretty bright down the shop here, and this does have a calibrator over here that you can see. You can calibrate this so that it will come up. But as you can see, as I raise it up to a brighter light, you'll see the gauge go up. Now, again, this uses like a photovoltaic cell, and a lot of times they would get a little weak over the years, so that's why you can recalibrate it. But it's amazing how much light that they figured you would need to do certain things, And let me show you. I'm going to hold it up next to a light. To test this, I have a couple of clamp lights up here. Here I have a compact fluorescent. Here I have a incandescent light. That's a regular 60-watt incandescent. Here I have a LED. And of course, I have my shop light. Now, that's always interesting to see how it reads on here. See, now we're good for like office work, things like that. But I'm going to hold it up closer. And if you notice, when I bring it up to the fluorescent light, I get up to about 30 on the meter here. But if I come below the compact fluorescent, because of the reflector, you could see I get it up almost to 40. Same thing here with the incandescent. I'm at a solid 40 here with the incandescent. With the LED, same thing. I'm bringing it over here. And it's the same thing. So it doesn't matter the type of light. It registers the illumination, the candle power. And you could see here that according to this, even with all these clamp lights and everything, I don't have enough light down here to do some fine assembly, which I usually don't do anyway. Okay, next up on our Bakelite tour, we have this Hanau. Can you see that? Hanau. And on the bottom here it says Hanau Engineering Company, Incorporated, Buffalo, New York. And do you know what this is? Can you figure it out? You've seen me use one of these before in a different form. This is a blowtorch. Let me clean it up a little bit and show you what it is and how it works. Okay, we don't have too much to these type of torches. You can see here there's a wick here in very good shape here. And you can move this wick up and down by turning this in here. You can see that. You can move that wick up and down. We have the head here with the nozzle. We have the fill cap here. And, of course, we cleaned everything up. So let's fill it up. It takes denatured alcohol. And we'll fill it up and we'll try it out. Okay, we have everything back together. Remember, we're using denatured alcohol. That is the fuel that goes in here, nothing else. We filled it up. Now what we have is, this is the way you would see the torch if you're using it. They use this in dental labs and things like that to make dentures. And now what you do is you remove the cap here like this, exposing the wick, which is wicked up some alcohol. We're going to light that. We light this. There we go. Okay, we lit it. Now you can see it here. That's why I had to change the lighting. And now when you squeeze this trigger, watch what happens. You create a blowtorch. You see? Now we have a working blowtorch, so to speak, that if you had to heat something up, for example, you see how fine that is that you could get in there. You could heat up right through the middle of that. Here we go with a black background. You see a little better. See that there? How that works? Oop, a little bit hot to touch. Anyway, so there we go. We have our. This is a portable blowtorch. Isn't that nice? Bakelite. Okay, and last up in my fabulous Bakelite items, I was at Elephant's Trunk a little while ago and I found this. And the guy says, you know what that is? And I said, you bet I do. It is a insulation tester because we're going to be doing electric motors. And we could thank Terry for that, Terry Benko, for sending over that beautiful Century motor he sent over. And that's what started us on this quest. Now, what this is, remember we're talking about testing the windings, how you test the windings? This is an insulation tester. And basically what it is, it's a generator that sends through 500 volts DC through the lines to tell if you have any leakage or, you know, if you have a problem with that. And you can see there's a meter here that reads it. And what a nice piece of equipment this is, huh? Paid $20 for this. And you can see the gauge, the meter here. It looks like it works. We'll have to try it out. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook it up to a volt-ohm-meter, and now this puts out direct current DC 500 volts, which is enough to kill you. So I'm going to hook this up and see how many volts we get out of this. Okay, you can see here we have it on discharge or off. We're going to put it on to over here. With that, we'll have to read the instructions on this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind it up, and we're going to look at a couple things here. We're going to look at this meter here. And let me see if I can turn this a little bit better. There we go. We're going to look at this meter here, and then we're going to look at the voltage. Look at the voltage because we want to get close, at least a few hundred volts. So let's see what we got. Ready? Let me wind this up. Okay, we're ready. All right, we're close to 500 volts there. Can we get 500? Close 490. Well, 500, we can hit 5. Let's see. And now, this will come down and tell you what kind of resistance that you have. Can you see that? That needle? What kind of resistance? That's just reading the meter, I guess, now. So, but I will read more into it, but at least it looks like it works. Pretty cool, huh? Another Bakelite, beautiful instrument. Guess this from the 40s or so. Okay, so in closing, a little bit of a mosh there. Special thanks to Tom Gunn for those beautiful pliers. They came out nice, huh? And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Take care now. Bye-bye.